the whole Forsyth team, great job. We got PT out there, so hopefully he can do the job and take the win for the team, and we'll come back at Road America and go win it.
And Jan, having that problem, their second problem of the weekend, really damages Allmendinger's championship hopes.
It does. He needed to score as many points as he possibly could. The other problem they had this weekend is in first round qualifying, they had a turbo explode right as he left pit road. Didn't even put a time down on Friday. So that is something you don't see much from the Forsyth team, and boy, it's just hurting him now.
Big battle here. This is for position. Speedy Dan Clark trying to get inside Charles Wolfsman for 7th.
And you can see that Speedy Dan's taking a look, and the most important thing, that dry line is widening. So he thought, discretion was a better part of valor there, but as that dry line widens, I think we're going to see some moves there.
Good 3-car battle. That's Will Power on the Aussie Vineyards 5. He is 6th right now. 7th belongs to Wolfsman of the MyJack Conquest machine, and 8th is Clark in that CTE HVM car number 14. Clark really starting to show us something now, getting faster and maturing.
And you had to be mature to decide not to make that move.
Catherine Legg has spun the Bell Micro car, the 20, as she came through the chicane to the start-finish straightaway. For the second time this weekend, Catherine Legg will bring out a yellow flag. The Bell Micro car goes around as she came through the final complex of turns here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
And what a shame for her, because she's really in her own race, because she lost 5 laps after going off the track, and it was the curbs. You get across the curb, and as she went to the power, even though she's on the dry line, the back end of the car gives up. And man, that's a tough day for a fact when you're already starting a race 5 laps down.
Just past the quarter pole at the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal, Sébastien Bourdais the leader over Paul Tracy. These drivers will be wheeling new equipment come 2007. The brand new Champ Car chassis on track for the first time a few days ago.
The brand new Panos DP01 Champ Car chassis was unveiled the night of glitz and glamour in San Jose back at the end of July. Chassis and car receiving a great response from drivers and fans who were on hand. The car's been tested at Sebring now at the hands of veteran driver Roberto Moreno.
Basically what we're doing today is making sure every single piece works. And so far the car has been fantastic for a brand new car. The car is well balanced, has good grip. Oh, they're gonna have an awesome time with shifting on the steering wheel. It's just a different game. It's fun now.
Well, safety is a huge concern, of course, for the new Champ Car. It has passed its first controlled crash tests with flying colors. And the car will be back on the racetrack for more testing. The teams get their first cars in November.
To the chase. This is the big one. Speed takes you inside Richmond with raw, unfiltered coverage. Plus the return of The Chase is on.
400 laps of racing left. Who will be in?
Your NASCAR weekend from Richmond begins with The Chase is on Thursday night, 8 Eastern.
The all-new Victory Vegas Jackpot with custom-inspired paint, a color-matched frame, and a super fat 250 rear tire. You may think we chose style over substance until you start it up. The Vegas Jackpot. It's the new generation of American attitude. The Victory Custom Order Program. Until October 31st, customize the bike of your dreams, including the all-new Kingpin Tour. Only at VictoryMotorcycles.com.
This week on Fox, Emmy winner Brad Garrett is going to teach us everything he knows about marital bliss. Uh-oh. Introducing the new Fox comedy, Till Death.
Marriage isn't about fun. Men want to have fun, and wives want to walk that fun deep into the woods and shoot it dead.
You are a bizarre human being.
Oh, am I?
Till Death. Series premiere this week on Fox.
Good day, gentlemen.
Morning, Tim.
Hey, nice call on Favre.
You got it.
What about play-action passes? Come on, Tony. We can do better than that. Sandy, give me the Saints online, too. And let's have halibut for lunch.
Red zone stats, and we'll be needing a new ATM machine.
Why's that?
Jeremiah.
Give up the knowledge.
Fox NFL Sunday returns with a doubleheader in HD this week.
Now it's time for our Mazda Power Play. One of the closest finishes in Champ Car Atlantic Series history. The Atlantic's running their 11th of 12 races in Montreal earlier on Monday. Simone Pagenaud and Graham Rahal battled to the stripe. The two championship contenders. Rahal won his 5th of the year by just 7 1/1000ths of a second. Rahal now trails in the championship battle by 12 points. Pagenaud has to finish 4th or better at Road America in a couple of weeks. And that's your Mazda Power Play.
Welcome back to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Champ Car World Series, the Grand Prix of Montreal, the 11th race of 2006. I'm Rick Benjamin, Jan Bikas alongside, restarting with Sebastian Bourdais, the championship leader, out in front.
And Sebastian Bourdais taking a page there from A.J. Allmendinger, the way that he restarted. Gas it just before you get to the brake zone for the final chicane, grab a gap, and then get well off that final chicane. Very nicely done for Sebastian Bourdais.
Bourdais working the lead. Tracy runs second. Charles Wolzman with his hands full back there. Oh, one car off. It's Nelson Philippe. And he goes down through the runoff area, back on the racetrack. One of the Rocket Sports cars just misses, and Philippe spins the 4 car.
Again, a case where he had it where he wanted it, then hit some wet racetrack. And unfortunately, the moment you hit grass or wet racetrack, big time trouble.
Dan Clark, meantime, his teammate trying to reel in Wolzman for position. As the leaders work under the CDW bridge, it's Bourdais in the McDonald's entry, Tracy in second, Wilson. And then the battle there, Servia had moved to 4th. There's Wolzman and Speedy Dan Clark. And Antonio Pizzonia making his return this weekend. Yeah, we really haven't spoken much about him in the Rocket Sports 18 car. Pizzonia had that great run. He had a top 10 in the season opener. Long Beach funding problems took him out of the seat. He's been brought back here to Montreal.
Looking very much forward to coming to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve because, of course, he drove here in a Formula One car. And there's very few Champ Car circuits that a Formula One driver could say, well, I'm familiar with that one, but this is one of them.
Bourdais opening up about a 15-car length advantage so far. The leaders have not made their first pit stop of the day, but Tracy's team will have to adjust on the 3 car, try to make him a little faster to run up front with Bourdais.
And I'm watching to see what they'll need to do for Paul Tracy. It doesn't appear as though anything obvious, except for the fact that Bourdais is kind of in a league of his own, and the rest of these cars all very similar in the way they look and the way they still work on what is a treacherous course.
Now here's another look at what happened. Philippe went busting down the inside into 1.
And once you get off, you get a little bit wide. That's what I've been talking about before. Even though the racetrack is there and it looks like you can drive on it, if it's dark black instead of gray, don't go there.
Yeah. And I think Philippe must have realized that he doesn't want to go back on the grass either here.
Had a tough time getting the car spun around, but kept it running. That was the key. The key to these things without the onboard starters is whatever you do, keep it running. Don't stall them, because obviously if you don't lose a lap and you catch a full course yellow, you could be back in this thing.
No change up in front. It's Bourdais as the leaders hit the Ford hairpin here. Of course, next year when the new Pano's DP01 entry becomes the Champ Car chassis of choice, they will have onboard starters.
And that's going to be great. I mean, obviously you hope you never have to use it all season, but every driver knows that at some point in time something is going to happen. But what they also have with the gearbox, with the paddle shift on the steering wheel, they have the no stalls. So there's actually electronics on the car that if you spin it, it knows to knock it out of gear. So they actually have technology on the cars to keep it from stalling in the first place. Hopefully you never need the onboard starter.
And all of that, of course, an attempt to keep things moving, to avoid cautions for single-car spins like that. Wolzman here with his hands full. Clark, this is 7th that's in contention. In front of that pair, Will Power, the Aussie Vineyards 5 car. Nice job for Power today, running in 5th.
And for Charles Wolzman, he was very pleased this morning. Something they haven't done all year is he was at the top of the time charts in the warm-up. I mean, there's no points and no trophies for practice times, but Charles Wolzman was very quick in the warm-up, and something, you know, that's one of those things, Rick, you take home and you put up on your, put up on your refrigerator saying, look at me, I was the fastest in the morning warm-up. But of course, that doesn't pay points.
But it represents progress, perhaps. And
Absolutely.
Wolzman, the Atlantic champion a year ago, in his rookie season, as all rookies do, he struggled with these much bigger, faster, more powerful cars. And anytime you can see that kind of progress and at least lead a session, that does say, hey, you know, maybe I'm moving in the right direction here with this team. There's Bruno Junqueira arrowing by in front of Power, 5th and 6th, and then that battle for 7th between Wolzman and Dan Clark. But Sebastian Bourdais is out in front at Montreal.
Hey, I'm Courtney Hansen. 10 years of racing, 10 years of speed. Happy anniversary.
no one to play with. Play online at partypoker.net, the world's largest poker school. More players, more tables, more winners. Sign up now to partypoker.net, the best place to learn how to win.
All right, okay.
Speed on demand. Never miss your show.
This race has been better than last year.
Speed when you want it. Where you want it.
These cars are the things of dreams.
How you want it. Because some things are worth living over and over again. Speed on demand. Available online or through your local cable provider. Speed. Live it.
Which track is the fastest in NASCAR? Which track has the best finishers? Which track is the driver's favorite?
Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Nobody's doing more for their fans than Atlanta Motor Speedway. That's because we want to make the driver's favorite track your favorite track. See for yourself during the Bass Pro Shops 500 weekend, October 27th through 29th. Call now for tickets.
Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Real racing, real fast.
Back in Montreal, in trouble for Mario Dominguez in the Sonny's barbecue car, Jan. He was in 10th.
Got in trouble in that first complex of corners. Again, when you start to push and you catch some of the racetrack where it's not dry, boy, it's really, really tough to keep the car on the road.
Dominguez appeared to be offline in the 19 car. One more look at it here. This is turn 1.
Got a little bit wide. Again, he was out fighting with some other cars, and this is where it's tricky. This is where we saw some other people not able to bring it back on the racetrack. Very wise by Mario Dominguez. Don't goose it when you're on the grass. Wait till you're on the dry and nurse the thing back up to speed.
Meantime, in front, Sebastian Bourdais, who took over the lead from A.J. Allmendinger when Allmendinger's car packed up. Bourdais just stretching the advantage now over Paul Tracy. Third spot belongs to Justin Wilson in the CDW car. Fourth is Servia, fifth Junqueira. Sixth is Will Power, and still that good battle for seventh. Dan Clark in the CT HVM 14, trying to get around the MyJack Conquest entry of Charles Wolzman.
And from that long shot, you can, again, it was a good representation of how close all the top runners are. Obviously, the two closest cars are this Dan Clark-Charles Zolzman battle that we have going. I think that Dan Clark, again, you talked about maturing. We've seen a lot out of Dan Clark this season. And now we're getting to the point of the year where you really have to take an assessment of the risk. Do I put my tires out there where it's damp and try and make a move, or do I just try and force, in this case, Charles Zolzman into a mistake?
Well, Dan Clark has certainly been good fun to watch and to get to know in the Champ Car World Series this season as he presses Wolzman for that position. And yeah, you can tell it's still pretty damp here, very overcast. Look at the vapor trails off the rear wings on these cars.
And that's because the air is compressed over the rear wing, and you have seen, and Paul Tracy this weekend on the end fences of his wings have more vents. They unveiled something. Now, a lot of these cars do have little vents that sort of first saw the light of day in Formula One. It lets the air out of the side of those side fences and gives more downforce on the rear wing. Anytime you see those little trails like you're talking about there, Rick, that means you're really compressing the air, and that's making drag. If you can vent it out the side of those side plates, you get more downforce and less drag.
On the front straightaway, still the battle for seventh. Wolzman in the MyJack Conquest car. That's the red and yellow car number 34. Will Power in the Aussie Vineyards 5 directly in front of Wolzman. He's opened up a good bit of distance on Wolzman now. And Speedy Dan in the 14, the CT HVM entry, he's not really in touch with Wolzman. So everything's kind of settled down now.
You mentioned Will Power. Will is the only driver who decided to start this race on the black sidewall Bridgestone. Every other driver started on the red. So the fact that he has stayed, I would want to start on reds, I would think, because it's very slippery when you started. You want the higher grip Bridgestone Potenza, but it worked well for Will Power.
And when we see cars making their first pit stops, tire changes, a lot of these other teams will put the blacks on. That may give Power the opportunity to gain some ground there.
And you would certainly want to have the tires of choice on your last stint, not necessarily on your first one. But you can lose so much time and so much of your race in the first stint. That's pretty much why most of the drivers want to start off